Okay, what was your impression of the confirmation process we've just observed with Ketanji Brown Jackson? Dan, we'll let you go first here. I don't know how much of this you were able to see, but
Enough of it. Judge Jackson is a woman of enormous patience and grace with a high pain tolerance and great fortitude. Uh, she was presented with a circus freak show that I believe Lindsey Graham specifically said was revenge for Brett Kavanaugh's hearing. There are many differences, which I believe is your next question,
yes, it
but
is.
she 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 carried the facial expression of everyone who's ever been explained their own field by someone with less knowledge of it. Watching her be mansplained by Ted Cruz and watching her just utter grace under pressure was amazing. I know I don't have that kind of patience when I'm being asked stupid questions by people who are clearly my inferiors, but she did because I think she knew she had it locked, and I suspect that she gets treated like that a lot. She seemed to have the patience for it.
The one I liked it was whenever I think it was Lindsey Graham that asked if babies feel pain, and she said, "I don't know." Uh, yeah. So, Judy, what did you think about that confirmation process?
Well, my blood pressure rose. I think, though, when you say, Dan, that she was being questioned by her inferiors, she was being questioned by her inferiors as far as integrity, to borrow your word, Samantha, is concerned. But many of these people, Tom Cotton, Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, they have graduated from the best law schools in the country. Now, it is hard for me to believe that they cannot understand when she explains how, for instance, the sentencing guidelines are no longer appropriate for child pornography, viewers of child pornography, or how she is not accusing George W. Bush of doing the waterboarding when she names him, as she is required to, in a federal habeas petition. What you have to do is name the person with custody of the petitioner. Tom Cotton either should know that as a graduate of Harvard Law School, or he should be able to understand it if he didn't happen to take that course, and he didn't learn that. So I think he offended me more than even Ted Cruz holding up baby pictures. These people know better. I find that so insulting, and it makes me wonder whether Ivy League law schools ought to look at their curriculum. Um,
Or revoke credentials.
yeah, um, it was astonishing, and this is not a court case where you kind of want the clever lawyer to come up with some clever little things like you know, Justice Kagan called the guy who came up with the Texas vigilante law some genius. You want maybe you want your lawyer to be able to come up with some argument and be willing to put it forward. But this is a hearing where we're trying to decide a serious issue, whether someone is qualified for the Supreme Court. And to deliberately ask stupid questions is offensive.
Gotcha questions.
Totally.
Yeah. So, Sam, I think Judy
Yeah.
nailed with the phrase that you brought up, the integrity.
Well,
These guys,
Dan and Judy nailed it. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
showed
absolutely.
showed none there. What did you see?
That's exactly what I saw. It's she handled herself well in the face of asinine questioning and odd, baseless lines of questioning. I mean, are babies racist? Come on now. with picture boards. Let's go. You know, I mean, if this was not a questioning based upon is this woman qualified? Looking at her resume, her CV shows you that she is actually overqualified, particularly concerning the last two nominees. Way overqualified. But what it does do is it's just another dog whistle to the base, to the voting base. It's something that these people can put on their their next campaign commercials and billboards and
then
it,
fundraising email.
fundraising emails. It's sad and it's hurtful and it again, I hate to use the word, there's no integrity there. Nobody cares anymore. It's about the dollar. It's about what you can rake in.
So,
Okay, I'm going to let you go to the next question about giving a comparison of those two confirmation hearings between Ms. Jackson and Mr. Kavanaugh.
Well, from Miss Jackson, I saw a lot less sniveling. I saw a lot less proclamations of loving beer. And that's fine. I don't care about beer, but just proclamations of loving beer. And I saw a lot less, extolling of boofing and the devil's triangle. It's like she lacked all of those things. And I'm not sure what I think about that, you know. All jokes aside, her confirmation was serious and had gravity to it, with the exception of, as Judy said, Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham and all the others. Is it Black? What is her name? Blackwater.
oh,
Blackburn.
Blackburn.
Marsha
Blackburn.
Blackburn.
Thank you,
Blackburn,
Blackwater. I'm sorry, Blackburn. I hate que sera, sera. Just yeah, no. She absolutely handled herself beautifully. In comparison, I don't know. She raped less people. She drank less beer. She apparently doesn't boof as much or have as many devil's triangles.
Okay, Judy, your comparison of the two hearings.
well, I think Samantha covered it. I heard someone say, though, along those lines, that at some point, looking at Ted Cruz, she should have said, "I like beer."
Right? I'm an all-American woman.
Yeah.
Dan, you have anything to add about the comparisons?
Let's see. Well, my favorite moment from Kavanaugh's hearing was when Kamala Harris made him cry and he proved that he lacked the temperament to be on the Supreme Court, because white men are just really emotionally fragile, and it's we're unsuited for serious positions because we are so emotionally fragile, as Kavanaugh spoke for all of us. But Brown Jackson proved that she was not, and she tolerated a lot of really ridiculous personal assaults that had no meaning and no bearing. And in going back to what Judy said about knowing better, the idea that she loves criminals because she was a public defendant is just so patently fucking ridiculous. But since it didn't come up, I'm fairly confident that she never sexually assaulted anyone. So we only have 2 people on the Supreme Court who we know sexually assaulted people.
Yeah.
Only 2?
Only 2 that we know.
That we know about.
I mean, there's a lot of white guys in their 60s, so
Yeah.
there's probably more, but we know about 2.
Okay, the January 6th committee, Dan referred to this a little bit earlier about the 8-1 vote. The January 6th committee recently published text messages between Mark Meadows and Virginia Thomas wife of Justice Clarence Thomas, where she urged Meadows to stop the process of inaugurating President-elect Biden and overturn the results of the election. When the issue of granting the January 6th committee the right to access the documents related to the attempt to overturn the 2020 presidential election came to the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas was the only justice who voted to deny the committee access to the records, which include the aforementioned text messages his wife sent to Mark Meadows. Do you have any problem with this story? And if so, how should this problem be addressed? Judy, I see you laughing there. I'm sure you have a strong opinion about this story.
Well, it certainly raises questions, doesn't it? And we all know now from being told over and over that the judicial code does not apply to Supreme Court justices, but there is a statute that does apply, and that says that they should recuse themselves when a member of when their spouse, to simplify here, has a known interest in the outcome. And it seems to me that Jenny Thomas probably had a pretty big interest in keeping those emails quiet. And it defies my belief that Clarence didn't know about that, since they both talk all the time about how they're best friends and they're very close and he depends on her and on and on. I think
he goes to the MAGA rallies with her. They were seen together at these MAGA rallies.
Yeah, what's your point? So I think he absolutely needs to recuse himself. I don't know that he will, and I don't know what we can do about it.
Sam, what do you think about that?
I'm right in line with Judy. Right in line with Judy. Recusal, absolutely, and possibly impeachment because of him voting the way he did concerning the denial to the records of the text. It goes back to integrity. Clearly, he is not a truthful, honest person with integrity. Should he even be a part of the January 6th committee judging it?
Well, if you're going to ask me who has more integrity, Clarence Thomas or Anita Hill, I'm with Anita Hill.
Anita Hill, have you seen the recent, she's only had a couple of recent interviews in the last 2 years. The woman is brilliant and so well spoken. It's like, what happened there in the early 90s? What happened?
Well, Joe Biden was chair of the Judiciary Committee at the time, so.
Sadly.
All right, Dan. You have a problem with Clarence's vote and Ginny's text messages?
I have a problem with everyone who's trying to overthrow our democracy, so that's my issue with Ginny. I have a problem with Clarence because he's recused himself on cases before. There was a case shortly after he was appointed that involved his child's school, and he knew that he was not allowed to be involved there. So he just backed off like you're supposed to. And so he knows that this process exists. If he didn't know it existed, I would similarly have a problem with, how are you doing this job for 30 years and you don't know that basic fact? But he does know it exists, so he knows that he should be doing it. And it's never a cut and dry matter of the law when it's your family. I don't care how bland and technical you can be. When you find out that your relative was the victim of crime, your relative has cancer, your relative needs representation or help, you're not objective, no matter how much you want to pretend to be. So yeah, I think that he really crossed the line, and who's going to stop him? He does not care at this point. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I'm of the opinion that all three of the Trump judges should have resigned after January 6th, just like a bunch of his cabinet people did. But no, they have way too sweet a deal. That's not going to happen. They've got stuff to do and settled case law to overturn. Clarence Thomas is going to be on that court until he dies. Ginny should not be. Ginny should be prosecuted if it's discovered that she did in fact break any laws, and Clarence should have no pull there. I am also of the opinion, because this seems to be happening with more and more political candidates, and now I feel maybe we should extend this to the judiciary. The spouse of an elected official might not, I think, be allowed to have a personal private career. And I realize that this traditionally would impact more women than men. But if Hillary Clinton could put her work on the shelf to be first lady for 8 years and just work as a cheerleader for Bill's priorities, I'm sure Nancy Pelosi's husband could retire. Or who is the senator from Georgia, Kelly Loeffler, whose husband like runs the stock exchange. Like if you're gonna have people who are working in fields where one can interrupt and legislate the other, you are inviting corruption.
There you go. Better wording.
And we are seeing this with Elizabeth Warren has written a bill in the Senate to prevent Congress people and their spouses from trading individual stocks. If they want to be in the stock market, then they have to either work with a blind trust, or they have to get a S&P 500 or a 401k or something like that. They can't just buy and sell stocks on a whim. And Nancy Pelosi disagrees with this, but Nancy Pelosi's husband is a very rich and powerful stockbroker. That's where he makes his money. So that bill effectively says he has to retire. I'm okay with that.
I am too.
And I'm starting to think that this has to spiral out further. That like when I came up with the idea of spouses have to stop, I was thinking president, vice president, senators, House reps. But now I think we should be expanding that to state legislatures and governorships. And like, I don't want you to be a House spouse. I do want you to have your own interests. But if Hillary Clinton and Michelle Obama can find things to do in their unpaid positions as first lady, I'm sure that the spouses of the various governors and senators and House reps can find things to do, because they're doing them anyway. They're showing up at political events, but they're not actively participating in things that their spouses can rule over. And that's the problem. I understand why people get all upset about Hunter Biden. I don't think he's actually done anything wrong, but the appearance of impropriety is often enough, unless you're Jared Kushner.
Or Ivanka Trump, or Melania, or
okay, for Melania to appear,
or Donald Jr.
For Melania to have some impropriety, she needed to have done literally anything.
Well, she did. She posed nude in a men's magazine. Can you imagine if Mrs. Obama had posed nude in a lesbian spread several years prior? Can you imagine what that would have done?
Hey, she wore a sleeveless dress, so that was
right.
Yeah, that had them all up
wore
in
a
arms.
sleeveless dress. Those
hey, I
masculine arms, you know.
I want to finish up by taking what Sam said and go one step further. If Clarence Thomas does not recuse himself, from anything involving the documents of the January 6th committee, then he should be impeached. If he recused himself, okay, we'll call that a mistake. But if you refuse to recuse yourself from these kind of decisions involving your wife, then you should be impeached. All right, I want to thank, great panel. Tough topic, but you guys did great here on this constitutional of the courts issue. So I want to thank Judy, Samantha, Dan, and goodbye.